In this lesson, I'm going to teach you a little bit about some mindset behind a successful e-commerce store. And don't skip this lesson. I really think there's some big concepts in here that are going to be very helpful. And we're going to talk about some of the different things I've learned mindset-wise and big concept-wise in starting my business that's helped just catapult and like really rocket my success with my e-commerce business. So one of the first things is invest your money wisely. And if you're watching this course, you already know that. But one of the ways to invest your money properly is spending it on knowledge. I see a lot of people when they're first starting their e-commerce business, one of the biggest mistakes they make is they think they can do everything themselves. And we're going to touch on this again later. And the truth is it's worth spending a little bit of money on knowledge. You guys bought this course. I think that was just a genius thing. I was, to be honest, too dumb when I was first starting my store to know to do that. I thought I could figure everything out myself. So what I ended up doing was kind of spinning my wheels. So spending money on knowledge when it comes to your e-commerce business is just a genius way to do that. And you can hire experts. That's one way to do it. I recommend, depending on how much disposable income you have, books are a really cheap way of learning things about e-commerce. You can also do things such as buying courses like this. So spending money on knowledge is great, and also time savers. This is another thing that I see a lot of people making a mistake is they want to do everything in their business themselves. We'll talk about it later a little bit, but hire a VA if you can afford it. I ended up getting a VA for $270 a month, and that was for a full-time VA. It came out spending less than, I think, $2 an hour. Less than $2 an hour, and I way more than doubled my productivity. So if you, let's say for instance, want to hire someone to design your logo versus doing it yourself, if it costs $5 to design a logo and it would take you an hour to do it, is it worth it to hire someone to do it? I think so, yes, and we'll talk again about this in just a second. But so those are some of the mindsets when it comes to a successful e-commerce business. Remember, you have to spend money to make money a lot of times. Not always, but a lot of times it's very helpful. So one of the first things I want to talk about here is know what is your value per hour? What is your per hour rate? For instance, with me, when I was first starting my store, I thought about it and I'm like, well, you know what? I could go get a job at Starbucks and make $10 an hour. So if anything cost me less than $10 an hour to outsource. So if it would, let's say there was a task that would cost $100 for me to put up on Upwork to get outsourced, and it would take me 10 hours. Should I do it? Yes, in a second. Now, since then, my per hour rate, I've had it rise a little bit, and your per hour rate might be much higher. If you make $50 an hour in your job, then your per hour rate's $50, meaning that if you can hire someone for $25 an hour to do something for your business, it might make sense, especially if they can do a better job. So right here from the beginning, realize that your time is money, and that if you can spend some money to save some time, that's a great way to make your e-commerce business become more successful. So another thing I want to remind you of, thinking you don't need any help will have you start off like me in this picture here and end up like this other guy in this picture here, or how I felt. So when I first started my e-commerce business, I didn't think I needed any help. I thought I can do this all on my own. I don't need to take an e-commerce course. I don't need to hire experts. I don't need to do any of that. I'm going to figure it out all myself. So I started off very gung-ho, and I ended up super, super stressed out. So realize that it is worth spending money to get some help. It is worth asking questions. Guys, you know what? I obviously have the Effective E-commerce YouTube channel. Anytime you have a question, put it in the comments below the YouTube videos. Answer it. You can send me emails. I can't promise. I get a lot of emails, so I can't promise I'll respond to every email. But if you're watching this course, you're watching this video, I want you to succeed at e-commerce. I'm not one of those kind of people that just wants to take your money and wants you to, go figure it out on your own. I really, really want you to succeed. So if there's a way I can help you to do it, let me know. Reach out. And I'm going to tell you right now, most people are like that. Most people want to see you succeed. So remember, you don't need to do this on your own. That is another key mindset here that I want to instill in you guys. After that, I want to talk about the 80-20 rule. So I talked a little bit about this in the last lesson. The 80-20 rule is 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So let me give a much more tangible example of this. If I were to look at the total revenue my business has done, and if I looked at all the time I spent in it, I'd say about 20% of the things that I did resulted in 80% of that revenue. So to get even more specific, I'd say probably the most impactful things I've done is product listing ads, AdWords, and spotlight marketing. Those three things that I've probably spent, let's say 100 hours on, just as a hypothetical. I spent 100 hours on that and it leads to 80% of my revenue. Now contrast that with everything else I've tried, which is probably 500 plus hours. So I've spent 500 hours on things that have only led to 20% of my revenue. So what does this mean for your business? Try to figure out what is the 80-20? What is the small percentage of things that you can do that'll lead to a big return on your investment? Another example, to bring it back to my store, I realized that marketing to dance studios led me to much more revenue than marketing to individuals. So what did I do? I realized that by marketing those dance studios, I can get bigger sales. So I basically said anything that is not enticing dance studios to buy from me, I'm gonna stop doing. So figure out in your e-commerce business, what is the 80-20? And this applies over and over again to pretty much all aspects of life. So that is a principle that I'll have you just keep thinking about throughout this course. What is the 80-20 of this material? What is the 80-20 of anything and everything? So the next thing is, it's gonna be hard work. And there is a story I heard before, a little phrase, I guess you could say, that really stuck with me. And it's about the Native American rain dance. Now we've all heard about the Native American rain dance. They believe that if there's no rain, that they have to do some kind of dance that's basically like an homage to the gods, saying like, hey, will you please give us some rain? And the interesting thing about the rain dance is it worked every time. And the reason it worked every time is because they kept dancing until the rain came. So I want you to remember that with your e-commerce business. It's not gonna be an instantaneous thing, but if you keep working at it and keep working at it and keep working at it, eventually it will become successful. Which kind of leads me to the next point, and that is that the entrepreneur roller coaster. You probably right now are extremely excited, you're ready, you're gung-ho, you're ready to start your business, or if you already have your business, you're ready to make it become more successful. And that's great. Capitalize on that energy, but understand there's gonna be a drop. You're gonna eventually have this, what we call rational pessimism. Usually what happens is people start out on like the irrational optimism, meaning that they're really excited. Me in the picture. Remember me once again in the picture. I was ready to go. I was pumped because I just quit my job. I'm gonna start an e-commerce business. I didn't realize how hard it would be. Then I realized how hard it would be and I started getting stressed out. But this is the key. At a certain point, you realize that it is possible and that you are going to be able to make it successful. So if you understand going into it that there's going to be that downturn, I think it makes it easier to see that eventually there will be an upturn as well. So guys, if you're starting this video or you're starting this course and it's your first e-commerce business, realize there's going to be some ups and downs. If you already have an e-commerce business and you're trying to make it even more successful, perfect. You already know that this is going to happen. Keep pushing through it. Keep dancing in the rain, and eventually you will have success with your e-commerce business, but it's going to take time. So that is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. Guys, it's going to take time for your e-commerce business to be successful, but it will work if you work on it, and if your idea is obviously good and you work on it hard and smart. If you like this video, then you're going to love my new e-commerce course, the 25K e-commerce profit plan. In it, I teach you the strategies and techniques that I actually use to build my own successful e-commerce business. We talk about how to set up a website, an e-commerce site that actually makes sales. Then we talk about how to get traffic to that site. And ultimately, I give you the tips and techniques on how to make it be as profitable as possible. We talk about things such as SEO, Google Analytics, everything you've heard about, AdWords. It's all in there. This is really pretty much everything I know about e-commerce. I put in this one course. I was tired of people asking me, how do I get traffic to my website, or how do I build an e-commerce site? And I wanted to just bundle it all up in one course. When you buy the course, you'll get free lifetime access to my private Facebook group. And on top of that, for the first 100 people that buy the course, I'll give you a free one-on-one 30-minute consultation. You can go to effectiveecommerce.com or click up here now to buy the course and make sure that you get one of the free 30-minute one-on-one consultation sessions.